We continue to thrust into sharp focus South Africa's weather conditions, and we've seen re-established connection with the senior forecaster at the South African Weather Service, Puseletso Mofokeng, who now joins us on the line. A very good evening to you, Puseletso. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Good evening, Simpewe, and good evening to the viewers as well.
Now, can you first of all walk us through the current storm system affecting the Western Cape? I mean, what's driving it, and how unusual is it for this time of the year?
It is certainly not unusual. It is winter time. We are to experience cold conditions or very cold conditions from time to time. We are to experience snowy conditions from time to time, and even some incidents of heavy rain. So this is certainly not unusual. The system that is driving all this is the cold front that has made a landfall, that has made its arrival over the southwestern parts, that is over the Western Cape. So it has brought with it some rain, 100 to 80% over the extreme western areas of the Western Cape. The other rainfall actually spread to the western areas, that is to about Matroosberg Mountain. And in fact, this evening, we are also expecting the onset of snowfall on those mountains, the Matroosberg Mountain, including Calvinia, Sutherland. Those are the areas where we are expecting snowfall as well. But beyond the snowfall, beyond the heavy rain, we're also expecting very strong winds over the interior, and these are expected to be damaging in some places. So this is a level 2. This is where we are saying we're having the high chance of occurrence, but very minor damage. So that's what we are expecting. That even include the rainfall. But along the coast, from Alexandra Bay to about Cape Point to about Plettenberg Bay, there we're expecting very rough seas. We're expecting damaging seas, and that's a level 4 for today.
And the South African Weather Service has issued, as we've said, a level 4 warning. What does that mean then in terms of the severity and the expected impact?
Level 4 necessarily mean that the impact will be significant. In other words, there's a lot of damage that is expected, more especially along the coastal areas. So I think we would have given all the warnings in the form of the public format, also for the marine, so that those warnings will be through. By this time, they would have taken all necessary precautions. And yes, that's what we mean by level 4, a very low chance of occurrence. But when it does, the damage will be significant. But as I pointed out, people are cautious by now. So those conditions are expected to prevail even by tomorrow, but they will spread beyond Plettenberg Bay. They will reach about East London. So we're going to have both the damaging waves as well as the winds. As of the heavy rain, it will only be in the morning over the extreme southwestern parts. That is Cape Metropole, Cape Winelands. That's where we're expecting heavy rain, but it will be before sunrise that rainfall would have ceased. Other than that, the other strong winds that we're still expecting will be along the coast of the Eastern Cape, including the adjacent interior. Much of that will also be over the Free State, the eastern parts of the Northern Cape. So that's where we're still expecting strong winds. Those strong winds, obviously, we're not encouraging the public to start fire. We're also saying for those structures which are not solid, they should have taken precautions. By now, obviously, it's too late. Another important factor by tomorrow will be the snowfall that will spread to the eastern parts of the Eastern Cape. That is those areas in the Jotabi municipality. That snowfall will actually be disruptive. In other words, some of the passes may be closed by tomorrow, more especially by evening.
Now, Puseletso, we've seen in the past, the meteorological impacts between the coastal areas and the inland areas, differing quite vastly because, of course, of the meteorological or rather the geographical consideration. So what role do topography and drainage infrastructure play in the severity of flooding in places like Cape Town's informal settlements, for instance?
In fact, those conditions that you mentioned all play a role. One is the topographical features that are in the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. Also, the type of soil that is there. Obviously, you would know that from high up, you'll have the rainfall coming down. So most of the places will have streams of waters to join the ocean. So in that sense, that's where you're going to see most of the streams running through there. But the other second part, like you said, the meteorological conditions will include the upper troughs like we are having currently, the cut-off flows. But another important factor, more especially for the Eastern Cape Coast and KwaZulu-Natal Coast, these are the more areas which are prone for flooding. This is because we also have the influence of the Agalas current running along that coast. I think by a distance of about 20 kilometers from the coast, but as we move towards Eastern Cape, a bit away, so about 100 kilometers. But if you have the onshore flow persistent running through that Agalas current, you then have the high chance that you will have rainfall, wet conditions, and therefore even slippery conditions that may obviously lead to, that is heavy rain that may lead to localized flooding or even widespread flooding, as we have seen recently. And in fact, in many occasions in the past, that was because of the cut-off flow pressure system, as well as the influence of that Agalas current. So these conditions necessarily mean that we have to be careful, we have to work together, we have to ensure that as we choose places, we choose them accordingly. In other words, even if we have a very nice environment. In fact, this is not only in the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal, also here in Gauteng, particularly when we have the El Nino conditions, where we have mainly dry conditions, you will find that people, I don't know where they come from. I see that especially from here in Gauteng, where you'll find that areas that we know that they flood from time to time, you'll find that people are starting to make settlements there. So in this case, it makes life very complex. And it is not necessarily only the job of the weather service to actually issue out the warning. What we are doing now is very late for such kind of events. Also, the disaster management has got a limitation. It is the municipality that has to make sure that people are placed in such a way that they are out of the areas which are marked as areas of risk.
Okay, let's now focus on the inland areas. What should Gauteng residents expect from the approaching cold front? I mean, will it bring rain, wind, or mainly cold temperatures?
Well, what will happen by tomorrow is that the wind will pick up a bit. Certainly, we are not expecting any wind to be damaging. So here in Gauteng, it will remain without rain. There may be few clouds there and there. But also what we can expect, especially in the evening, that's when the cold front would have moved through. So the temperatures are going to drop quite drastically. So as we move to Friday, we're going to see very cold temperatures across Gauteng province, across Mpumalanga, and including the southern areas of Limpopo. So those are the conditions. But as we move to Friday, the rainfall will be limited along parts of the coast. So more especially over the Cape Southwest coast, that's where we're still going to have rainfall. A bit of the south coast of the Eastern Cape, as well as the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal. Generally, we're not going to have rain. What we're going to have in the next few days is just few rainfall that is going to happen along the coast, just in patches. Certainly nothing serious, no extreme system in the next few days.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, Puseletso, but great chatting to you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.